So UFC 321, Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane was earlier today. I'm just going to be doing my reactions and breakdowns, a little bit of a review, and then we'll also get into some of that controversy that happened with the main event at the end. To get into it, overall, it was a pretty decent card. I enjoyed it for the most part. I think the main card had a little bit of give and take, ifs and buts here and there, but I think that we have a couple different narratives now after the event is over. Really unfortunate how everything ended up ending, but very least right now we kind of have, I would argue that we have a bit more excitement in a couple of divisions now, a couple of different directions to go. But let's start out right now. Just going my picks, we started off with the early prelim opener of Jacqueline Amorim versus Mizuki. I actually had Jacqueline Amorim going into it. Mizuki ended up getting the win with that. I think I thought that Amorim would have been able to do a little bit more, but she kind of got stifled by Mizuki a bit. I do think that if she was able to kind of like control her grappling, kind of keep that more in her world a bit more, she could have done more. But Mizuki was actually very strong, very aggressive this whole fight. Amorim kind of just got a lot to deal with. She kind of just got overwhelmed. I honestly think that Mizuki could have probably even got the finish if she kept pushing the pace. But overall, great performance, especially with all the changes going on in strawweight now. We'll get into the co-main event later. But with all of that now, Mizuki's like good, fresh young blood to see in the division right now. Moving on with my pick, my pick. I told you I got to say this. This is a big "I told you so" moment. Like you saw, it at the end of Raposo's win. Plus 325. What? Plus 325 who? I told y'all from the beginning. On paper, yeah, Maxim should have been the one who won. On paper. But I said it. I felt something in my chest telling me that Raposo got this one. It's been a while since I felt like that. And I told you, I'm like, I could be wrong, but I just feel it in my chest that Raposo should get this one. And we saw what happened. Raposo brought it for. He needed this win too because his job was definitely in danger. But Raposo was aggressive. Raposo's boxing was looking clean. Raposo kept pushing the pace. His takedown defense was looking great throughout the whole fight, and he kept being consistent and he kept working. He had good get-ups. He had good, and he kept the danger alive. I like that. Even when you look at this, we had 7 takedowns from Maxim just to look at the stats, and yet still Raposo got up from most, if not all of them, and he got up from them fast too. He was very assertive, very aggressive. You see the total strikes, 53-30. Raposo was on it. Like I said, I felt it right here. Felt it in my chest. I was like, yo, on paper, Maxim should run through him. But something's telling me that Mitch Raposo got this one. So good win by him. Like good fight, good scrap. But I caught that one. Just had to put that out there. This next one, like I was right in who would win, as I'm pretty sure. I feel like no logical person is picking Chris Barnett at this stage in his career. I feel like if you're picking Chris Barnett, you're either just a super fan of him or you just don't understand how fighting works. Those are the only two options in my opinion. I think every logical individual who even knows who these people are be like, of course Barnett's gonna lose. I personally thought he would have gotten flatlined, not because Hamdi is that much more incredible than him, but just because Barnett is shit. He just is, bro. Like at least based off where this new generation of heavyweights seem to be heading to. Once again, we'll get to the main card as a whole later. But this new generation of heavyweights seem to be moving away from the historically old state of just being fat men with like decent enough martial arts or professional training to compete. But it seems to be moving into more of a direction of actually athletic, natural built, natural built men. Like in the words of Derek Lewis, we're moving from just them being just fat guys to actually professionally trained athletes who are capable of using that body. Chris Barnett got injured by jumping on his announcement before in the past. And in this fight, he definitely looks a little bit more wary. Yeah, he used to be that big, chubby butterball who could, well, as as my boy Walter called him, like what he called him, chocolate marshmallow or something like that. But he's able. He used to be the fat guy who, with the incredible movement, he like, oh wow, like he can really move like that for the body type. Chris Barnett should probably be a middleweight if he actually lost all that. He's just fat, bro. Like he's doing a lot of damage to his body, even doing that movement. His joints can't handle it. Of course, he's getting worked on. And Hamdi didn't even look terrific. Hamdi was fouling. The back of the head shots were outrageous. I understand them a bit because like I don't agree with them. Let me be very clear. I don't agree with the back of the head shots. Like they're illegal. Obviously, take the point. I actually agree with the point being taken. But I understand the back of the head shots because personally, what else am I supposed to do in this position? I've took you down. I have dominant position. You keep turning your head into my so that literally the only part I can aim is at the back of your head. I can't properly posture. I can't properly aim. Every time when I try to turn to tee off the elbow or to hit you or something, you just keep shoving the back of your head in the way. Of course, I'm going to hit you in the back of your head. At some point, you just get to where you're like, you know what, whatever. If the ref stops it, the ref stops it. And you saw some of that going on in the main card as well. Like I saw Almeida, once again, I'll get into that in more depth later, but I saw Almeida do something similar where it's like you're on bottom, you're in a less dominant position, you're intentionally like trying to use the rules and shove your head so that you can stop or stifle or slow down the striking assault. Either way, Barnett kind of just struggled through this fight to make it to the end. Yeah, it's heavyweight, so anybody can get knocked at any moment if something lands clean enough, but overall, to be honest, low level heavyweight fight or average heavyweight fight in the current. But as I said, the generation is moving, it's adapting. We're really looking forward to what this future new generation of actually athletic, in shape heavyweight look like. Moving on to the next fight, Nathaniel Wood versus Jose Miguel Delgado. For this pick, I had Jose Miguel Delgado. Um, I've been liking how he's been looking real recently. I know Nathaniel Wood is good. I acknowledged that before. But I agree with this decision. Nathaniel Wood definitely did win the fight. He definitely it was a good back and forth. He faced adversity earlier in the first round. Um, they both did, but Miguel Delgado put him in some stuff, put him in some danger. He took that weather the storm, managed to keep his consciousness, keep his wherewithal, and then he returned fire and then put that same situation on Jose Miguel Delgado. Overall, great back and forth. Um, I probably had it 29-28 Nathaniel Wood. In the end, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else had it sliding to Miguel Delgado. But personally, I felt that Wood had the more aggression, landed the more effective strikes, and was the busier fighter. So if you scored it more so, I guess I could see. At least I'd be willing to listen to your argument, but I just think this is the right decision. Even though this goes against my pick, I think this is the right decision for how this result should have been. Now, next fight, we have Walter Walker versus Louis Sutherland. I said this in my prediction video. Walter Walker is one of those fighters that I'm really looking forward to. I really have my eye on Walker. I like his performance. Walter is somebody who I consider to be a part of the new generation of heavyweight. That in shape. He has abs for goodness sake. Like just even Louis Sutherland is in fairly good shape for the current heavyweight standards. But Walter Walker looked great. He looked fast. He looks mobile. Like he's not fucking burdening his joints by putting too much weight more than he can handle and just cutting down his life expectancy. Like the way he goes for these heel hooks, the heel hook king. The way he goes for these heel hooks, the way how he sets them up from any position, you know what he wants, you know what he's gonna do, you know that his specialty. Sure, you could even argue he's a one-trick pony at this point, and it doesn't matter because he slips in, slides out, gets those submissions, and closes it off. And he's so fast with it, and he's so adaptable with it. Louis Sutherland had excellent instincts in those situations. He tried to roll out of it. He tried to adjust, tried to fight it, and Walter was too fast and too tight. And I know a lot of time in the current modern UFC, in the current MMA in general, leg locks and heel hooks are things that in general don't really work as much or as often as they once did. They aren't as effective. A lot of times they get blocked. Most people don't even support them, or a lot of people advise against them. The only fighters that nowadays that I really, really know of who still has it as a legitimate threat for the most part, of people that come to mind, you have Walter Walker now and Corey Sandhagen. Like those are just examples of two fighters that when you think about heel hooks and leg locks and leg attacks, like, oh, these are people who this is actually a dangerous and ingrained part of their skill set. But for most fighters, it's kind of just more or less a stalling tactic or a desperate Hail Mary attempt to try to turn something around. But Walter Walker, phenomenal, finished in a minute 25. And even within that minute 25, he landed more strikes. He only needed one takedown and one submission attempt to get it. Very fast, good. I saw that he called out the man. He called out this gentleman right here who fought earlier, Hamdi Abdelawab. Who he called him out. Personally, ignore that. I think put him against another person in the ranking. um, I'm not gonna say a Spivak because I feel like every time anybody has potential, we throw them to Spivak. But right now, I think work him up. Give Walter a slight increase in pace. Um, give give him what they call him, my boy the Blob. Try to remember, but give him somebody who's up the rankings. I wouldn't say don't I wouldn't say give him a top 10 opponent as yet, unless it's top number 10. Not that I don't believe that he could handle it. I still think grow him a little bit more. Like, he's finally separating from his brother John D's name. He's really like, he's his own entity now, and he's looking phenomenal. Give him like a number 11 or number 12 right now, up the rankings. Like, and then after that, then we give him like a number. So if he wins, especially if he wins with the heel hook and making himself the heel hook king, heel hook master, then we give him like a number 7 or so. Like, give him one more kind of feeling out test. But make sure it's somebody in the rankings. I don't think that he should be going against any unranked fighter at this point in time. He's proven himself enough. Let's see if he could be a potential genuine danger down the road. Shit, if you really want to speed him up, as I said earlier, give him um give him Jelton Almeida. Said it in my prediction video that I think that he matches up great. I think he matches up well against Almeida. I think stylistically speaking, he'd be willing to actually engage with Almeida's wrestling more, which also would make Almeida more wary of the wrestling. And assuming that Almeida doesn't get finished fast himself, it would make Almeida fight more. And we've seen that Almeida is capable of fighting more. He's just very, 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 very risk averse to the point that he's really starting to endanger his own career by just being boring. But so next up, we have Ludovic Klein versus Mateusz Rebecki. So this is another one of my picks that I'd gotten right, that I'd gotten correct. Um, I did expect this to be a good matchmaking skill because Ludovic Klein is very technically sound, and I expected him to more or less be the one who was very clearly a bit above Rebecki in this matchup as far as pure technical martial arts skills were concerned. But as I said in my breakdown, Rebecki is very grindy. He's very sturdy. He's very in your face. He's very much he's very gritty. He's the type of fighter that he's not going to give up. He's going to keep coming at you regardless of what happens. We've seen that in a series of his previous fights where he shows a lot of heart and he's here to stay, and you have to put him down before he goes away. So Ludovic Klein had a great performance. Ludovic Klein was the superior striker. He had the better grappling defense as expected. He had excellent timing. He had excellent awareness, and he definitely came to play. Like he was constantly aggressive, constantly in the face. He constantly, like, for those first two rounds, it was very clear that Ludovic Klein was the one who was winning. He was the one who was ahead. But Rebecca never slowed down. He never stopped. He never gave up. Even though he'd be getting hit with some bombs at times, the most that would happen is he'd get dazed, he'd recenter himself, and then he would come right back. Like even some hits that completely for a lesser fighter or a less durable fighter, they would have gotten put down, lights out, or at the very least been a lot more wary. But in the case of Rebecca, he took a lot of those big shots, a lot of those big hits, recentered, adjusted his footing, and just came prodding back. And you really saw that he was still constantly dangerous. Because when he connected with Ludovic Klein, you saw bigger reactions. And that was kind of the name of the game. It was kind of like Rebecca was kind of like old school Nate Diaz maxing in the aspect of he'd get hit, he'd be left bloody, he'd be a zombie, and he'd just keep coming forward. Never stopped, never slowed down, never hesitated. And that really created a lot of problems for Ludovic Klein because that pace becomes a bit suffocating at times when you're hitting this guy with everything. You're outstriking him, you're stopping his grappling attempts, and he's not slowing down, he's not giving up, he's not caring. So that was an excellent performance, excellent show of great courage and heart by Rebecca. And but that third round, you really saw the strategy almost coming to fruition. Rebecca managed to get that takedown. That he got locked in that body lock, got that takedown, and Ludovic Klein ended up injuring his feet. That really showed the grit of Klein as well, because I believe he ended up severely injuring his foot. I don't remember if he ended up breaking his foot in that process, but after that, Ludovic Klein could no longer put any power into standing up or really trying to defend to that side of his body. And Rebecca kept going. And I know I keep using the Gelton Almeida example, but I have to, especially in this case, because you saw the difference between Rebecca and what we'll discuss with Almeida a little bit later on, where the moment Rebecca got to a dominant position, he kept trying to finish the fight. He made the strikes count. He was trying to end it. He was throwing bombs. He was throwing with all his body weight. And you saw the effect in Ludovic Klein. You saw him start reacting, start curling up. He got forced to be defensive. He got forced to acknowledge those strikes. He got forcefully taken out of his position. And then, especially with the damage that was already to his leg and otherwise, Ludwig Klein was forced to be in a position where his lights could get shut off at any moment and he was in real danger. So you have to give him the credit for not just beating Rebecca in a martial arts fight, but also like having the grit and the heart to suffer through a lot of those adversities and keep trotting forward. And as for Rebecca, you have to acknowledge his grit and durability. He got hit with some strikes. His eye was swelling up at one point, never slowed down. And once he caught Ludovic Klein in the position, he went for the finish. This was like Rebecca came to win. He didn't come just for a check. He came for the dub, and he fought like he was trying to take it. Really, really good match. Really great matchmaking. You really saw a show of skill versus grit. To be honest, and you really saw what happens when even if the fight's not going your way, like keep it gritty, keep it dirty, make the fight dirty, take him out of his element, don't make him stay pretty. I really like Rebecca's strategy in the aspect of listen, I'm going to try to, if I can't connect, I'm going to wear him down, I'm going to pressure him. If I can't do that, I'll get him eventually. And when I get him, I have to make it count. Really, really fun fight. Really enjoyed this one. Moving on to the next fight, we have Ikram Aliskerov versus Jonion Park. I had picked Aliskerov to win this fight, as he did. Um, I'm a bit conflicted with this one as far as commentary. Overall, decent quality fight. We see that Askarov is now being cornered by Habib. And team, we also saw that he incorporated his wrestling a lot more in this fight. But Askarov's wrestling, it was cool. It didn't really seem noteworthy in the aspect of an it factor. It was good for slowing down Johnny and Park in this matchup. And in my opinion, Johnny and Park had the better offensive striking in this matchup. Like you saw that, and when he connected more, I think, and yeah, you can see it in the aspect of Aliskarov landed more total strikes, had significantly more total strikes, and he even landed more significant strikes. But when you go back and rewatch that fight, the strikes that landed by Junior Park drew bigger reactions from Aliskarov. I also believe that's one of the reasons why they made sure to incorporate that grappling strategy as the rounds went on, because Aliskarov started recognizing the genuine threat and danger that Junior Park presented. Aliskarov got put in a couple deep waters, a couple moments where certain things were questioned, whether they were legal shots or not. But overall, it was a decent run from Aliskarov. But I'm personally, as much as I expected this to be more of a domination. To be honest, I expected Aliskarov to have more of a domination in this matchup, and especially with how the middleweight picture is constantly in flux currently and it's currently changing, and the quality of fighters we have. I don't know if I'm ready to really consider Aliskarov as a true contender in that title picture just yet. Looking at this performance, sure, his striking looked good, but I wouldn't say it looked great. His wrestling looked good. I wouldn't say it looked great. His forward pressure was cool, but I wouldn't really call it. Nothing from my personal opinion, there was nothing from this performance that would make me go, oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing from this performance that made me go, oh, wow. Give him a top 10, top 5 opponent right now. Nothing from this performance made me go, this guy could be a problem in the future. I don't get that impression from Aliskarov right now. I even I even know that recently we just had DDP lose in um his venture against Brendan Allen. I think DDP, based off this performance alone, I think DDP would kind of be too much for Askarov right now. I think he'd overwhelm him, and I don't really see it being a competitive matchup. I'm not saying that just because DDP beat Whitaker and Whitaker finished Askarov, just as an example of somebody. I don't really see Askarov as a okay. Then we're now considering him amongst the DDPs and the Fluffy Hernandezes and the Brendan Allen and Robert Whitakers and all that those people. And he actually has a history of going against Hamza Shemaev. I believe his first official MMA loss was against Hamza. I think he got finished by Hamza in a similar way that he got finished by Rob. I don't see Aliskarov as a legitimate contender as yet. He still has a lot to work on for somebody who was once thought of as being, oh, like he could really be the guy, which is why he was called upon to replace Shemaev in that bout against Whitaker. But right now, he, to me, in my personal opinion, he needs to be a bit more tested, and he needs to improve in a lot of areas before he's really ready for another elevation and jump up in competition once again. Moving on to the next matchup, we have the feature prelim. Apologies, guys. You know me. So sometimes I got them big grippers on, so I accidentally pressed the wrong thing. Side effect of big hands is that sometimes you accidentally move the mouse and stuff a little bit too much. But anyway, getting back into these breakdowns, we had Nasrat Hakparas versus Filian Salkalit. I had Hakparas in this. I'm not one to like super analyze short fights, but just to give my breakdown, I think initially in the few minutes that this fight did last, think it was good posturing. I think Hawk Paras was trying to find his range. I think Sal Khalid actually was the one who got pressured a little bit in that initial time, in that initial state, but we all saw how it ended. Sal Khalid found the opening, launched that killer leg kick, took him right out. In that short time period, Sal Khalid had more strikes, more significant strikes. Apparently, all the strikes that landed on both sides were significant, which is a bit difficult to believe. But doesn't matter. Sal Khalid saw the opening and he saw a chance and landed it. And Hakparas is usually very aggressive, great timing. But Sal Khalid really like did himself well in this showing. Saw the opening, seized it, launched that killer kick that took him down. Thankfully, Hakparas did eventually woke up. This is the first time in a little while that we've seen somebody shut off that badly uh, by a knockout. Hakparas was out for minutes. Like minutes is in plural. He was out for a while. It took a lot of effort to wake him back up. So he was fully unconscious before he even hit the ground with that kick. So vicious knockout, but excellent performance by Quillian Sal Khalid. Looking forward to his next showing. Still also looking forward to Hakparas's next showing. Hope he rests up and recovers well before he does get back into the ring. Overall, the feature prelim was pretty short, so ain't really too much breakdown. But overall, it was really pretty excellent showing for Quillian Sal Khalid. So let's see how his career continues to unfold. Moving on to the main event. Now, in my defense, this is where my picks start really falling apart. But in my defense, like I was using too much logic a little bit with some of these. Not gonna lie to you, I was thinking a little bit too much in the matchups with these ones. I was thinking, oh, historically this should work. I didn't think of some of the it factors. And this beginning fight is a perfect example. My boy Alexander Rakic versus Asma Murzakanov. I said it in the beginning. Rakic is the better martial artist. He's the better fighter on the technical sense. I still think Rakic one of the best fighters technically within the whole division. And I believe he showed that in the short time that the fight lasted, the less than 2 minutes that it lasted. Like you saw Rakic had the better striking. Rakic had the better kicks. Rakic overall had better posturing, better awareness. He landed more. Like even look at this: 13 total strikes to 4, 9 significant strikes to 3. Rakic was kind of trying to pull apart, setting a better pace. He was doing a lot more. However, and I had acknowledged that Mirzakhanov is dangerous, but I didn't give enough credence to his it factor, which is this that crazy knockout power. Like knockout, and I believe that we all have to kind of give more credit to knockout power. We have to just admit that it is one of those things that it can't be properly quantified when it comes to a skill of a fighter. I remember that was one of the things that we all struggle with Alex Pereira when he was coming up, where it was like, yeah, he hasn't fought a grappler, he hasn't fought this and fought that. Didn't give enough credit to. Yeah, but him kind of constantly shutting out people is such an it factor that it's kind of the great equalizer in a lot of cases. So it's like there's a much lower barrier of entry for skill requirements when you have such a huge it factor of like that killer power. Because even when you look at the fight, the the blow that knocked out Rakic wasn't meant to knock him out. That's what makes it so crazy. That was just a stiff jab. It was never meant to be a finishing blow. It was meant to be a setup shot. And it just landed clean, landed hard, and it folded Rakic. And when it folded him, Mirzakhanov ran up, just got them finishing blows. Rakic covered up immediately on the ground. Could he have done more? Maybe. But we didn't get hit, so we don't know. But Mirzakhanov hit him with a stiff jab. It folded him, and that's all she wrote. So I can't really go further than that. Mirzakhanov kind of proved this point, kind of makes him his. And if his power is that incredible in those matchups, then in other fights become a lot more interesting. Like how does he pair against a Khalil Roundtree? Like, was it that Rocket's chin is just a little soft from over the years? Or is Mirzakhanov that crazy with the power? His undefeated streak would kind of suggest that it's the latter. So how does he match up against Roundtree? Can he be a threat to Yuri? Like, how does that power match up against other people in the division? So let's see how that continues to develop, and let's see. Once again, new blood in the light heavyweight division, new blood in a lot of these divisions. Like the title picture in a lot of the UFC's divisions are changing and changing in real time, and it's an exciting time to see. It's an exciting time to be a UFC MMA fan. Now we have our next fight: Alexander Volkov versus Jelton Almeida. I had Jelton Almeida winning. I I sound crazy with the pronunciations. I have Jelton Almeida winning in this fight, but I said it very clearly. I wanted Volkov to win. I think it's. I'm very happy Volkov is winning, even though, if I'm going to be honest, I think Almeida got robbed. I think it's justified that he got robbed, but I personally think Almeida got robbed. Well, because I even made sure to rewatch this fight and rewatch the third round just to be certain. So in this fight, it was basically a wrestle fuck fest. If we're being honest, this entire fight was Volkov trying to fight and Almeida trying to just grapple. If you even make it even more blatant, this fight was Volkov was trying to have a MMA fight, and Almeida was trying to stall as much as he could until the bell was over. That's what it felt like. Every opportunity Almeida got, he shot in, took him down. There were no proper submission attempts. There was no effective ground and pound. There was no effective advancement of position outside of just trying to stop Volkov from being able to get off, to get up. It was just so much of a stall, drag out fest, that rough fest, that it just made it appear like it made it feel very, very, very boring. And I hate to say it because I'm usually the oh, I love the technical aspect of it guy. Oh, the wrestling is good. The technical aspect of it is good. It's good to see like these skills on showcase. But boy, when it feels like you're in a MMA fight and you have somebody who's trying his hardest to run from the fight part of it, it becomes really, really difficult to enjoy it. Round one, Volkov did, my opinion, Volkov won round one. No, he did more striking, kind of got ahead a little bit, did a little bit more than Almeida. Even though Almeida took him down, kept charging at him, kept doing the same thing, Volkov just landed a little bit more, did a little bit more. Round two, Almeida just completely smothered him. There's nothing Volkov could have done. He kept taking him down. Every time Volkov tried to do anything, he just kept taking him down, holding him there. Volkov is trying to fight from the bottom position. He just keeps taking him down, holding him there, literally holding him there, not trying to advance position to make any type of submission attempt, which he is capable of doing. He's done it before. Didn't try to advance position to submission, didn't do any ground and pound, just kept holding him there. And because he managed to do it well enough that Volkov efficient, couldn't get off any efficient response, he just won that round. Third round, I think he did the same thing. I actually believe Almeida landed more attacks in the third round. When he took, I rewatched it. When he took Volkov down, he took him down, hit him with like looping stupid shots on the bottom, like just face down so that he can't hit anything besides the back of the head, which he was doing a lot. Every time he took Volkov down, he kept turning his head into Volkov's armpit and into Volkov's face, that Volkov didn't have any position where he could hit him besides the back of the head. And it was kind of stifling his striking a bit. So Volkov kept trying to hit him with rabbit punches, like short, no effect elbows. That was kind of all Volkov could have done and kept doing. Like he take Volkov down, get him in the leg lace, help put him on a rocking position, just keep holding him there. Volkov is hitting with rabbit punches, trying to do everything just to look like he's doing something. So it ended up being one of those situations. I believe that they ended up giving Volkov the round just because Volkov was doing more. Like, but in the third round, Almeida completely controlled him on the ground. Almeida landed some hits here and there. I argue he landed more hits than he did in the second round. Personally, I just think Almeida should have won on paper. Very happy that Volkov won. Because in the words of a friend of mine, this would this would have genuinely been a very, very, very unethical method of victory. It just would feel so unethical. Like you literally won a fight by not fighting. That seems crazy in the premier fighting organization in the world. So this would have felt like an unethical victory. I think it's completely justified that they robbed him. You can argue even if you go by damage based scoring. Remember, the third round is where Almeida opened up Volkov's cauliflower. So Volkov was bleeding in the third round, even if we're going by damage based scoring. Yes, I understand. Maybe that wasn't directly held to any direct fist or something that Almeida landed. But Almeida is the one who did the action that caused Volkov to bleed. Almeida should have won this fight, but happy he didn't because Almeida was just trying to do this and grind it out. And if you want to know how we know that this result isn't the one that should have happened, see, just like how when we watched the end of the Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov fight, and we all looked at it and said, you saw the reactions of the fighters, you saw their faces, and everybody knew that, yo, Volkov thought he won, Gane thought he lost. That's what should have happened. Same thing happened this fight. Volkov very much thought he lost. Almeida very much thought he won. Everybody thought that was the result until it was actually red. So congratulations to Volkov. He's next up. The opportunity they robbed him of. I guess the UFC really did, quote unquote, do him a favor and look out for him. Got him that victory. Let's see him go against the winner. Volkov versus the winner of Gane versus Aspinall 2, because obviously we're about to get into how the main event turned out in a bit, but I think I think I think Volkov loses against Aspinall if Aspinall wins, but I think Volkov could be Gane if Gane wins because he's done it before. So looking forward to when after this rematch when that match gets booked. But let's move on to the feature main event. For the feature main event, we have Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista. I had Umar winning this one, which he did. I believe I had him winning it by decision. Mario Bautista, I have to speak about him for a bit. Excellent performance. Bautista understood the assignment, understood the hype of the Nurmagomedov name, as well as the quality of the opponent, the one who everyone is saying should be the next person to fight Marab because he had the closest fight. And Bautista brought it. I really, really respect Bautista. Bautista striking was looking good. Bautista's determination was there. His aggression was there. His determination was there. His power was there as well. Because he buzzed Umar a couple of times. Bautista came to play. Bautista came for the victory. And he fought like it. Fought like hell. I love to see this. When you look at these total strikes, don't tell the full picture. Because when you look at I even argue the takedowns don't tell the full picture as well. You see 81 versus 33 when it comes to total strikes, which seems a bit hard to believe. But when you actually watch the fight, at some point when it came to the striking exchanges, Umar clearly is the better technical striker. But Bautista, similar to what we were talking about with Rebecca earlier, he crashed in and he fully went to durability maxing. He had those attributes. He was the bigger fighter, the more durable fighter, the fighter that hit harder, and he relied on that in instances to really like smother and pressure Umar. Umar was just slick. Umar kind of got forced, like relying on his wrestling a couple of times. I think that he even dazed Umar one of the times. I remember with a strike that ended up kind of, you had a moment where Umar kind of looked like his body kind of just shut down for a second. Don't remember if it was with a knee or the fist, but legit, you saw it connect, and Umar kind of just went jelly legged for a little bit. Genuine, genuine, genuine perfect performance. I think Bautista has eliminated all of the former narratives we had for him, especially after that Jose Aldo fight. We still had some questions, even despite his patchy mix performance. But no, against this quality of opponent, he surely performed great. It's unfortunate for him that he lost, but he at least can really certify himself as, yeah, he's a top five quality opponent in the bantamweight division. With Umar got tested a lot with this. I'd argue that Umar got tested in different ways than he did with Sandhagen. I think Umar was tested just as much as he was with Sandhagen, just differently. Great fight. Umar was very technically aware and sound. I will say though, let's pump the brakes on a rematch against Marab right now. We saw how exhausted Umar was at the end of the third round when the fight was over. If this was against Marab, he got two more rounds to go. Remember, in their previous fight, it was the third round where the fight changed and Umar started getting more exhausted and stuff. And the fight started getting away from him. So we have to remember that and be aware of that. I think Umar needs one more. I think Umar needs one more. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think he needs one more because this is where Marab's activity benefits him. Marab is running through the whole division so fast that it's kind of like who else but Umar would be next. To be honest, Marab is just clearing up everybody else. So if they just like, all right, then you next. At some point, he probably going to go through the entire top 15 with how it's looking. But I think Umar should get one more before he goes back in. I think Umar, whether it be against Figgy, whether it be against O'Malley, uh, I think they're thinking about doing O'Malley Sandhagen, but Umar should get one more opponent in before he tries to get Marab. Because how it's looking, I think, and with how much better Marab keeps looking, improving his striking, improving his submission game, with all of these new aspects, I think Marab beats him even bigger if he goes in right now. So let's see this. We'll see what changes. We'll see the adjustments made. Moving on, we have the co-main event of Verna Yanjaroba versus Mackenzie Dern. I had Yanjaroba going in. I know a lot of people had Yanjaroba going in. I thought Yanjaroba technically was the better fighter. I think that Yanjaroba would have been had more aspects. I thought her grappling defense would have played a major factor. I think that her striking, she just had better timing. And I think they did to different aspects. But with Mackenzie Dern, I think she just overwhelmed her. From the very, very beginning, Mackenzie Dern came out aggressive. She came out ready to win. She came out, she kept throwing strikes. She was the worst striker in the two, and she was the less accurate. However, she threw significantly more. If we go here and we take a look at the total strikes, you see 209, 208, my apologies, versus the 249. And then when you look at the takedowns, Yanjaroba had 9 takedowns to Dern's 2. But when I'm surprised they say 0 submission attempts because you saw Dern attempt submission attempts more. Dern endangered Yanjaroba. It's one of the reasons why whenever Yanjaroba had those takedowns, she didn't really do much with it because she couldn't get effective ground and pound and she couldn't get an effective submission attempts. Dern kept putting her in danger whenever she came too close and ended up really slowing down Yanjaroba's offense. And then throughout the fight, you saw different moments where kind of you thought that, okay, Yanjaroba is kind of allowing Dern to punch herself out because Dern was being so active and so aggressive at one point, and you would have assumed that Yanjaroba is giving the opportunity for her to kind of pick her apart from the outside a bit more, be more technical. But every now and then, Dern would catch a second win. And then when you went into that last round, especially where it could have been 2-2, it could have been 2-2 or it could have been 3-1, depending for Dern, honestly, either Dern or Yandy, or depending on how you were scoring some of these rounds, or some of these rounds were a bit close. But when you looked at it, it's like Dern just kept turning up the activity. Like she didn't give her any breathing room. Like, and even when she started feeling it more, she just didn't slow down. When it got to those points, Jandiroba kind of had a couple moments where she honestly kind of froze. Like, Dern was hitting her with so much. Dern was throwing no up submission attempts, despite what the stats say. Dern was trying to get to her. Dern was kind of trying to force her into a weakened position. And there was a couple points where Jandiroba kind of just froze in place without really mounting a proper defensive front. And when it came to the end of it, like, I personally have it 3-2 Dern, but I wouldn't be surprised if you had it 4-1 Dern. To be honest, it just was one of those fights. It was just one of those fights. I wouldn't be surprised if if you had it 4 rounds for Dern to 1 for Jandiroba, because Dern was just being so aggressive and so active, and just the much more effective fighter. Like, she also was the one who Jandiroba's grappling defense was cool, because that's the reason why she didn't get submitted. And yeah, she was the one who landed most of the takedowns, even almost tying Andrade's record with the 10 takedowns. Like, she landed those takedowns, but she wasn't effective. And we discussed this earlier in this breakdown, in this reaction, that just getting takedown doesn't mean anything. And Jandiroba would land these takedowns, posture a little bit, try to land a few shots that didn't connect, had no actually relevant submission attempts. Dern would try to do a couple of stuff, then Jandiroba would eventually back out, then kick her thigh a little bit. Dern would try to welcome her down, and then she'd make her stand up. And then they'd go back to again where Dern's the one who's pushing the aggression. It was my personal opinion. I enjoyed this scrap. It was a good fight. But I genuinely believe that Jandiroba was going to go home, review film, and be like, damn, I could have done so much more. Overall, still a great fight. Let's move on to the main event. So the fight that we've been waiting for all this time ends in tragedy. We have Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane, two people who are considered some of the best athletic heavyweights of all time at this point. Personally, I'm gonna be honest, I'm very disappointed by the ending of this fight. I rewatched this fight afterwards. High level shit. High level shit. Regardless of how you feel about either fighter, and as I've said before, I don't like Cyril Gane personally, but as I said in my prediction, his footwork is amazing. Especially for the heavyweight division, Cyril Gane, without a doubt, has the best footwork in the heavyweight division. Like, his footwork looks like he's dancing at times. Like, phenomenal footwork. Distance management was on point tonight. You saw him. He landed his kicks. Had his footwork led to a lot of his defensive management. He was looking great. He was switched on, and Aspinall was looking a little bit slow as far as the connecting aspect, but Aspinall's hand speed was on point. The speed of his hands was fully there. Gane's distance management just made him very aware. And Aspinall still connected a couple of times, but none of them really landed flush clean to what we're used to. So it was a shocker for a lot of people. I already said it. Gane is good. A lot of people forget. Gane is good. A lot of people talk about Gane like he's absolute garbage. Gane is really, really good. Remember that Gane was the one that some people argue should have beat Ngannou. And people were talking about Ngannou could beat Jones. So when people sitting here and say, yo, like, if Aspinall don't beat Gane faster than Jones did, then he ain't really that good and he a fraud, and Jones would kill him. And after this fight, we know John. No, come on, people. That doesn't make sense. We can't say MMA mag doesn't make sense whenever it doesn't benefit us, and then you don't like somebody, and now it's like, oh well, the MMA mag says, come on, guys, that doesn't make sense. That's not how none of this works. However, I'll say this: like, when you look at how this fight was going, very, very, very enjoyable. I enjoyed this fight a lot for how long it has lasted. I think when I look back, it was a lot more competitive than people pretend. Like, first of all, it's 27 strikes to 30. People made it seem like Gane was like blowing Aspinall out. When you look back at the fight, rewatch it and try to turn your biases off. When you rewatch the fight, you see that Gane and Aspinall were both landing on each other. It was like a jab. Don't get me wrong, Gane landed a couple of strikes, a couple of stiff jabs to Aspinall's face. But it was a very early jab. I think that within the first minute that landed, that just made Aspinall's nose start bleeding a little bit. And just over the course of activity, you saw it start bleeding more. Aspinall didn't look exhausted. He wasn't breathing heavy. Like, he's in a fight, so he's breathing faster. But he didn't look like, oh my God, like he's already getting fatigued. I do think Aspinall was doing some dumb shit with the spins, but I also think that he was just starting to feel himself, starting to have fun, just kind of enjoying the flow of the fight a little bit. But Aspinall's the one who was going forward. Like, people make it seem like Gane was just picking for Aspinall is the one who was walking Gane down. Yes, Gane stopped a takedown attempt from Aspinall, but that's just one takedown attempt. It wasn't even a full-on blast double or anything. He made an attempt. Gane stopped it. Cool. He adjusted, kept going. The fight was cool. Aspinall was the one. Similar to this, like, I don't know why people dislike Aspinall so much. He's such a decent person. Like, he doesn't do nothing crazy. He's usually very respectful. Tonight's the most I ever saw him cuss, to be honest. And we hear people love fighters like Strickland and stuff. But when you look at this matchup and how it was executed, you literally see, like, Aspinall, it reminds me of the Curtis Blades fight, where Aspinall is the one who was charging down Blades. Aspinall landed a kick against Blades, and then his knee went out, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, he lost to Blades. Blades beat him up." I'm like, that's not what happened. Why are we ignoring context? Gane went knuckle deep into Aspinall's eyes, and he hit both eyes. Speaking from a medical perspective, I am in the medical industry. So, speaking from a medical perspective, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, one eye was hurt, but he got injured over there, and he didn't care about our one. How it was a double eye poke. How it landed was like this. So, this was completely into the side of your eye, which really damages really endangers some of your connecting cord. That's not a 5 minute injury by itself. But then the second one completely swiped. And then when it swiped, Gane kind of postured off in the moment. So it was already in, and then he postured off to push it off more, which probably caused a scrape against the cornea in that aspect. So that's probably why his right eye, bothered him so much more versus his left, even though appearance wise, the left was the much worse injury. It's because he literally scratched it, potentially could have jeopardized his cornea and his sclera a little bit. So because of that burning sensation that you feel temporarily blinded Aspinall. I know a lot of people saying, oh, he didn't even take his full 5 minutes yet. If you guys remember the Bilal Muhammad fight, that immediate reaction, it's not always just about the time. While Muhammad was a bit more theatrical with how he expressed his pain than Aspinall was, he was a lot more direct in, yo, when it's really bad, it's an immediate thing. It's not always just oh, yo, let me wait out this 5 minutes, wait the timer, and then I'll say how bad I feel. No, I feel it immediately. I can't see. This is black. I see nothing, and I'm trying to focus, and now I'm emotionally upset, and I'm really in all types of mindsets. I'm compromised. I trained and waited so long for this fight. We're just getting into it. Now this shit's happened. I'm upset. Yes, that is a natural reaction. You remember, and also for the people who are saying that, yo, Gane was beating him up and he was smoking, we knew what that doesn't make any sense. As we see right here, once again, it was a competitive fight, back and forth. They were both landing, both connecting. It was a great first round. I would give the first round to Gane solely because he was the one who drew blood. But let's be fair and let's be straightforward. Aspinall is the one who was landing more weapons. Aspinall was landing more kicks. Aspinall was being more creative. Sure, you can argue that, oh, he would have gotten fatigued more, but that's an argument. That's not a factual statement because we don't know. And as I said, Gane's greatest weapon is his footwork. And Aspinall was targeting his legs a lot. And some of those were heavy, even almost made Gane fell with one of those kicks. So if he managed to wear down Gane's legs enough, yeah, that would have been a big impact and a big moment. It would have probably been a complete turning point. Aspinall himself has always acknowledged Gane as a dangerous opponent and difficult matchup. It's never like Aspinall shit on him. Aspinall is the one who kept saying he's not expecting it to be easy. Aspinall himself said he wouldn't be surprised if they both had to be exhausted before he's even able to finish him. If he's able to finish him. Asking like I don't see why people make it seem. As I said in my prediction, Gane is good. Gane is very good. Just because he lost to Jones like that doesn't mean he's not. Jones had a hard fight against Dominic Reyes. I think Jones would be able to finish Reyes within 2 right now. But that doesn't mean that the hard 5-round fight that he had with him those years ago didn't happen. Like, we can't just try to have reverse history whenever something surprising happens. When you look at this fight, and I personally, the reason why I said Aspinall would have finished Gane in 2, because I expect Gane to have a great performance. I expect Gane's footwork to be a problem. I expect it to take time to figure out in real time. I expect it needs to take an adjustment in strategy. Yeah, Gane had incredible footwork. He had great timing on his strikes. He's got good wherewithal, and he's been exposed to have a flaw with grappling so many times that, of course, he's going to try to do some training in order to be prepared. So all of these are not surprising factor. Even in his fight against Volkov, we saw that he had improved grappling, even though Volkov used it as a path to victory. We all know that the rematch is going to be next. Prayers up for Tom. I'm hoping his eyes are fine. I'm hoping that this doesn't take too long. As I've seen several people suggest, I would love for this fight to get rebooked and rescheduled to December for the Marab card. That would be great. It would be fast, quick turnaround. They both felt each other a little bit, so they both have a little bit more information to work off in the meantime, and they both could get this show on the road. Because I would love for this saga to get closed out before the year is over, but we're gonna have to wait and see as the fans see what the UFC and the fighters decide to do. Anyways, that was my breakdown, perspective, and recap of UFC 321. Y'all let me know what y'all think and feel in the comment section. Looking forward to seeing all y'all. Until next time, peace.